On May 5th of 1993, the finale of Quantum Leap aired on NBC, and after 5 seasons and 96 episodes of Scott Bakula leaping into strangers' bodies and fixing what once went wrong, fans tuned in expecting an ending. What they got instead was a text card, 6 words on a black screen. Dr. Sam Becket never returned home. No goodbye scene, no resolution, no Sam finally making it back, just those words. And then credits rolling over a show that had been alive the week before. And they spelled his name wrong, Becket, with 1 T. After 5 years of weekly television built around a man named Becket with 2, that typo has become one of the most talked about moments in TV history. And the reason it still lands is that it wasn't careless in isolation. It was the final expression of how NBC treated this show from the very beginning. Today, we're going to talk about how Quantum Leap actually got canceled, because the real story is more interesting than most people know and considerably more infuriating. To really understand what happened to Quantum Leap, you have to start with what the show actually was, because the way NBC mishandled it is inseparable from the thing they were mishandling. And what they had, as it turns out, was one of the most quietly ambitious dramas that ever aired on American network television. Let's go back to 1989. Section 1. What made Quantum Leap different? Donald P. Belisario created Quantum Leap, which is worth noting because Belisario also gave the world Magnum PI and later NCIS, meaning the man had a long track record for shows that connected with audiences in a specific human way. His premise for Quantum Leap was simple on paper. Dr. Sam Becket, a physicist, steps into his own time travel accelerator before it's ready, gets knocked loose in time, and wakes up in a different person's body at a different point in history every single week. Guided by his friend Al Calavici, played by Dean Stockwell, as a hologram only Sam can see, and advised by a supercomputer named Ziggy, Sam has to fix something before he can leap again, right or wrong, change an outcome, save a life. What Belisario actually did with that premise is what separates the show from everything else on the air. In 1989, he built a social issues show on primetime NBC, at a moment when primetime NBC simply wasn't doing that. In the first season, Sam leaps into Jesse Tyler, an elderly black man living under Jim Crow in Alabama in 1955, and without realizing who he's become, walks into a whites-only diner and sits down at the counter to order lunch. That episode, called The Color of Truth, aired May 3rd of 1989. Season 2 brought Sam into the body of a woman navigating early 1960s corporate America, dealing with workplace harassment in a time before that phrase existed. And in 1992, Sam leaped into a man whose best friend was being expelled from the Naval Academy for being gay, forcing Sam to fight military policy and prevent a hate crime on NBC in 1992. None of that happened by accident. Belisario built those stories deliberately, using the science fiction framework as cover to get things onto television that the network probably wouldn't have greenlit as a straightforward drama. Critics recognized what he was doing. 32 Emmy nominations over the course of the series, 5 wins, a Golden Globe for Scott Bakula as Best Actor in a Drama Series in 1991, and another for Dean Stockwell as Best Supporting Actor in 1990. Section 2. The first near death. None of that critical recognition translated into the kind of ratings NBC wanted from its drama lineup. Quantum Leap built a loyal audience, genuinely devoted, organized in a way that was unusual for the early 1990s, but it never pulled the blockbuster numbers that would have made it untouchable on the schedule. By the end of Season 3, the network had started making real noise about cancellation, and word got out to the fans before any official decision had come down. What followed is one of the stranger moments in television history. Fan clubs organized almost overnight, conventions were assembled, and a letter-writing campaign delivered enough mail to NBC's offices to give the network genuine pause. Fans also fundraised to sponsor Dean Stockwell's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, with the ceremony held on Leap Day, February 29th of 1992, a deliberate choice that nobody missed the meaning of. NBC backed down. Season 4 got a green light, and then Season 5 after that. But the reprieve came with terms that were never stated out loud. The network kept the show alive without actually investing in it. No major promotional support, no stable place on the schedule, just enough oxygen to keep it breathing while NBC figured out what to do next. Section 3. The scheduling disaster. Before DVRs, before streaming, before any technology existed to help viewers track down a show that had been moved, your time slot was your relationship with your audience, specific nights and times. And when a show shifted, a portion of those viewers simply never found it again. Quantum Leap moved 7 times in 5 seasons. The series premiered on Sunday nights in March of 1989, then shifted to Fridays, then to Wednesdays at 10 in the evening, then back to Fridays again, then Wednesdays once more, then briefly to Tuesdays at 9, before finally landing on Tuesdays at 8 for Season 5. 7 configurations across 5 years, which is less a scheduling strategy than an institutional shrug. And every single move bled a portion of the audience that never came back. What that scheduling history actually reveals is that NBC never developed a clear sense of where Quantum Leap belonged or who its viewers were. The show didn't fit a standard template. It wasn't a procedural. It wasn't a sitcom. It wasn't anything the network's playbook had a clean category for, and the response to that confusion was to keep moving it and hope the ratings problem resolved on its own. Section 4, Season 5, and the writing on the wall. Going into May of 1993, NBC still hadn't committed to a decision. The show sat on the bubble, and the network let it sit there while Donald Bellisario got to work on what he understood to be a Season 5 finale. And this is where the story turns genuinely maddening, because nobody at NBC told Bellisario the show was being canceled. He was writing a season finale, not a series finale, and had already started developing ideas for what Season 6 would look like. His stated intention at the time, shared with the Los Angeles Times, was straightforward. He wasn't going to write a "this is it" kind of episode because he didn't think Quantum Leap was finished. That's the creator of the show, on record, telling a reporter the story isn't over, while the network was quietly preparing to end it without him knowing. Section 5. Mirror Image. What Bellisario actually built. The episode Bellisario delivered is called Mirror Image, and it's worth spending a moment on what he actually built, because what he intended and what ultimately aired are 2 different things. Sam leaps into a mysterious mining town on August 8th of 1953, the exact date and location of his own birth, and walks into a bar where he meets a man also named Al, played by Bruce McGill, who may be God or fate or whatever force has been directing Sam's leaps from the very beginning. The episode draws on 5 years of accumulated storytelling and raises more questions than it resolves, which was entirely by design. The emotional center of Mirror Image is Sam's discovery that he's been controlling his own leaps all along, subconsciously choosing to stay lost in time because there's still work to be done. Armed with that understanding, he uses a newly conscious control over his leaping to intervene in Al's past, visiting Al's wife Beth and urging her to hold on, to keep waiting for her husband to come home from Vietnam. A title card confirms it worked. Al and Beth reunite and build a life together. And then there's a second title card, the one that nobody who made the show expected to be there. Section 6. What NBC Actually Did. An alternate ending had already been filmed. In it, Al physically steps into the imaging chamber, not as a hologram this time, but as a leaper himself to go searching for Sam through time. That scene existed to set up Season 6, Sam leaping as himself, Al leaping to find him, 2 men lost in the time stream together. Bellisario had the next chapter ready. NBC canceled the show after the episode was already in the can, which meant the alternate ending got pulled without ever airing. Someone at the network wrote a text card to close things out, and that card is what millions of viewers saw when the credits rolled on May 5th of 1993. Dr. Sam Becket never returned home. 1T and Becket, after 5 seasons and 96 episodes built around a character named Becket with 2. Bellisario hadn't been told the cancellation was coming, and the cast found out along with everyone else. Scott Bakula spent years in interviews talking about what a real ending might have looked like. None of the people who built the show felt they'd been given a fair chance to close it out because they hadn't. What aired got assembled after the fact, by people operating at a distance from the show that made it, and the misspelling of the main character's name is the clearest evidence of exactly how much care went into it. If you're enjoying this deep dive, hitting the like button is one of the easiest ways to help more people find the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a good time, because there is a lot more of this coming. Section 7. Ahead of its time. Here's the central irony of Quantum Leap's cancellation story. Everything that made the show worth watching is also exactly what NBC couldn't figure out how to sell. No recurring villain, no home base, no consistent supporting cast beyond Sam and Al, a completely new setting, and a completely different tone every single week. One episode was a courtroom drama, the next a sports story, the one after that something that cut to the bone. That kind of structure is almost perfectly designed for streaming, where individual episodes function as short films, and you can come in anywhere. But in 1993, NBC couldn't build a promotional campaign around a show that reinvented itself on a weekly basis. And the scheduling chaos that defined the show's run wasn't just mismanagement, it was a symptom of a network that genuinely didn't know how to position what it had. Shows built the way Quantum Leap was built need time and stability to find their audience. NBC moved the show 7 times instead, and when the ratings reflected the confusion that created, the network treated that as evidence the show had run its course, rather than evidence that they'd been running it wrong. Section 8. The Legacy. 32 Emmy nominations, 5 wins, 2 Golden Globes, a fan base that organized its own rescue campaign twice over, and a creator who was planning Season 6 when NBC pulled the plug without telling him. Quantum Leap tackled race, gender, and sexuality with more consistency and more courage than nearly anything else on American network television in its era. And it ended with a text card that misspelled the main character's name. NBC launched a reboot in 2022, and it ran for 2 seasons without Scott Bakula and without any resolution to Sam's original story. As of today, Sam Becket is technically still out there somewhere in the time stream, still leaping, still trying to find his way home because NBC never gave him the ending he'd earned. That text card said Sam never returned home. What it left out is that NBC is the reason why. 5 years, 96 episodes, a creator actively planning the next season, a fan base that had already saved the show once and NBC closed it out with 6 words and a typo. That's the story of Quantum Leap, and it's the first in a series I'm doing on shows that got canceled before they had the chance to finish what they started. Drop a comment and tell me which one you want covered next, and if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, now's a good time, because there are a lot more of these coming.